But ultimately, I think the guys that are happy are the ones that are ready to settle.
Know what they want?
Know what they want and are willing, even if they choose something that doesn't work out to be perfectly what they want, they're going to make it work.
And they're grateful for
They're
that.
grateful for this person. They're grateful for the extra family that comes into their life.
100%. You're on point. That's my thinking too. Yeah.
And a lot of these guys, quite literally in the U.S., might have been categorized in nerdy or unsocial or clumsy, and now here they are so happy.
Hey, what is up, folks? Richie Rich here for Richie Rich Abroad. Welcome back. Today I'm bringing to you a video, one of the best interviews that I've seen in a long time in the Philippines. You see a lot of interviews, but this one really hit home to me because it really echoes how I feel a lot of times living in the Philippines. Before we get into the video, you know what to do. Go ahead and hit that like button, the subscribe button, and that notification button, and drop those comments because you know I like to read them. No more talk. Let's get into this video. Ching, kick the intro, and let's go. Going by trike. Here we go.
How would you summarize being a single guy, traveling, and looking to meet a Filipina in the province?
Number one, wherever you go, there are beautiful Filipinas. There are all shapes, sizes, varieties, personalities. But in the province, you're definitely going to come across a little more simple, sometimes a little more conservative. But the sweetness of the province is that it is away from the city. It is away from modernity. And so some of the women and the people in general you meet, they're just so sweet.
Did you encounter any level of caution, though, of you just bouncing around town to town in the province as far as considering you as a boyfriend?
Well, I think most Filipinos are going to have, okay, let me check this guy out. Because I'm, 63, I'm retired, there is a sense from them like, oh, okay, this is somebody who's a little more stable.
The thing a lot of us men have to understand is no matter what culture a woman comes from, I don't care if she's from the US, from Philippines, from China, Japan, or Colombia, wherever, every woman is looking for the same thing, and that is security. Women want to have a sense of security when they pick the man that they're going to be with. And if you're bouncing around and you're going to different places and traveling all about, that doesn't give a woman that sense of security that a lot of them are looking for, and that makes it tougher. And while it's true that a lot of women in the Philippines actually like looking for an older man who is more stable and more secure, they do like someone who likes to stay at home and who doesn't like to go outside and do this and do that, or who wants to do that with them. And I think that's a big point too. Now, let's go ahead and continue.
They are looking for that. I mean, it is baked into the culture at this point that an older, especially an American, Australian, Canadian, but especially American because of our American infusion within the history, there is definitely, it's baked in that they find that attractive. The only ones that I would say it starts to be similar to what we experienced back in our home country are the ones that are super educated, maybe have spent time in the West, have been acculturated into American, they've even got an accent that we would recognize. So those become more American, and so they're not going to be as interested, but they're rare.
I mean, we've talked about this a million times before. A lot of Western men believe that if you meet a woman in the Philippines, you should never take her home to your home country because she's just going to become Westernized. There's a lot of truth to that. I don't think that's every woman, but I do think there's a lot of truth to that. We really need to vet very carefully before you bring a woman home. And you need to choose a woman who's very mature, who is not going to listen to all the whisperings that are going to come from Western women. You know what's going to happen. You know they're going to say, oh, you're dating an older man. You could do this. You could do that. You should do this. You should do that. And it takes a special woman. It really does take a special woman and someone who's driven, who knows what they want, to ignore all that, put that aside, and just keep doing what she's doing and enjoy her happiness. A lot of people from the West, a lot of people from anywhere, they're miserable, they're single, they don't have a relationship, or the one they're in is unhappy. And they really love telling you what to do and how you should be in a relationship, how you should be more happy. So you really have to make sure that you choose a woman who's not going to listen to all of that.
So you spent all that time in the province. After all that time spent there, with you being open to finding someone, what would you say was the biggest issue with finding someone that you, because you said there's a lot of interest in you, what would you say is the biggest challenge then to finding that one?
I always talk about a match, the best match is how are you in conflict? So yeah, things are great in the beginning with infatuation and rainbows and unicorns and life will be now beautiful, but how are you in conflict? And the way I do conflict, and I'm not going to speak for all my American brothers, but the way I do conflict is very different than the way most of them do conflict. And so we've talked about the word tampo, and boy, that is something so foreign to me that it's difficult. It's just incredibly difficult.
Me and Ching have talked about this in several videos. In fact, we plan on doing another video again in the near future about tampo. And I got to be honest with you, this is something, and I think I'm not going to speak for all American men because I can't, but I'll just speak for myself. This is tampo. The tampo thing is just not something that most American men are going to tolerate. They just wouldn't. I can tell you myself, even though I understand this is a big part of your culture, what you're telling me is you don't have the maturity to handle situations, to handle adversity like you need to in a relationship. I might would talk it out in one instance and give the woman another chance and say, hey, look, this is not something I'm going to tolerate or something that I'm going to deal with. But there would not be a third chance. We all have to have our boundaries. And one of the boundaries for me, you have to be a good communicator. You have to be able to talk about what's going on with you. You have to be able to talk about what's going on with you and how you feel about things, even if you're upset. And it might not be at that moment, but you could easily say, hey, I'm not sure. I don't want to talk about it right now. Can we talk about it later? I'm okay with that. At least you communicated to me, hey, something's going on. I have an idea. But the tampo thing is just not it.
So when things like that come up, it just at this point, it's a deal breaker.
So this is a very common theme, is that you're having no trouble meeting Filipinas and
Correct.
They're interested in you.
Correct.
But after a little bit of time, you're finding you say tampo, is there any elements of like jealousy and feeling of control?
Yes.
And
yeah.
Can you speak to some examples that can give guys ideas of what sort of things they will do with this mindset and tampo?
Yeah, well, let's talk about the jealousy because that's another big issue. So I tend to be very committed. So if I say, hey, okay, we seem to be a hit, and I commit fairly early in terms of saying we're exclusive. I'm off Tinder, I'm off things. I want to focus on you. You say you want to focus on me. We're exclusive. But I'm not going to hand my phone to her because my phone has super private conversations with my other friends that I'm not willing to share those conversations with somebody I just met.
I kind of echo his sentiments, but I'm a little bit different in that I'm not so quick to jump in. I need to check you out. I need to vet carefully. I need to give you the opportunity to vet carefully, to vet me. However, once I do commit, I'll give you my phone. In fact, I kind of have a rule. Look, at any given time, you can ask for my phone and I'm going to give it to you without touching. I'm going to pick my phone up, unlock it and give it to you. You can go through my phone and check out anything you want to, but you get that once. You get that once, anytime you want to. You don't have to sneak. Don't sneak. Don't go behind my back. You can ask me for it and I will give it to you once. After that, you shouldn't need to ask me again. You should know where I'm at. You should know who I'm with and you should know what I'm doing. Because if we're in a committed relationship, that's what it is you're communicating with each other, you're working together as a team. So I'm okay with that. But the whole jealous thing where you're trying to go into my phone behind my back, or you get upset because some woman looked at me or because some woman spoke to me or I spoke to a woman innocently. And that is, unfortunately, that is something that a lot of men are going to have to deal with coming to the Philippines. Those are some things you're just going to have to deal with coming to the Philippines. The good news is that if she feels that way and feels that kind of jealousy, that means she really does care about you. So, I mean, that's a good thing, but there might be some things you guys need to talk about as you go on. So, anyway, okay, we'll continue.
I try to be okay, it wasn't true. Here's the truth. Okay, that's a good friend back in the United States. I've known her for 50 years. And our friendship is like a sisterhood, brotherhood, and you need to accept that, or else this relationship won't work. You know, it's an immediate, just knee-jerk reaction, and so that's a problem, because I'm not giving up my friends.
I completely understand, and I think the right woman for you wouldn't ask you to give up your friends, wouldn't ask you to give up your family, and she wouldn't ask you to give up people who you're close to.
Have you had any challenges with you being retired and having a lot of free time with meeting girls that are busy with their schedule? Because you have girls that are unemployed, doing nothing with their life, and a lot of guys aren't really interested in that. They want someone that has some ambition or something going on, but then you have the challenge of the logistical, how do we spend time together?
It is, and it's a constant balance.
One of my own personal rules is that I just won't date someone who doesn't have a job. If you don't have a job, then to me, it's just a deal breaker. I don't want somebody who's totally dependent on me. I don't need that. I think, especially understanding that in the Philippines culture, a lot of young ladies, their families are dependent on their salaries. So if you don't have a job, then that means you're looking at me like I'm going to take care of your family, and I'm just not going to do that. Once we're in a committed relationship, then I'm definitely sharing, and I'm definitely saying to you that I'm willing to provide and protect. And that's what I offer. But having a job is something that is absolutely paramount in any woman that I choose in the Philippines.
The challenges with that are huge.
Especially if she's a breadwinner. You know, if she's a breadwinner that is supporting, an ailing mother, father, Lola, I mean, then really I'm backing up. But that also might bake in a let's go slow. And there's a good side to that. But I know, at least for me, I do like to travel. One of the things I've always wanted was somebody to travel with me, enjoy the adventure.
Right. I mean, that's half the joy of being in the Philippines is traveling together, doing stuff, taking road trips, bus trips, or wherever, and traveling together and exploring together, enjoying those things together. But again, if you are the one who's always financing those, that can get old really quick, especially if you are older and you're retired and you're on a budget. If you're financing all those trips and she doesn't have any money at all to take care of herself, buy herself this, that, and to do the things she wants to do, that can become, it could become a little dependent on who you are and what your situation is. So those are things that you really have to pay attention to and talk about and kind of listen for at the beginning of a relationship when you first meet somebody. So many situations going on when you start dating a woman or thinking about dating a woman in the Philippines.
Or how would you describe the perfect Filipina for you that you think will be the right fit for you, which maybe other guys can relate to?
I think, first of all, I think the more I go down this road in that question, the more I'm pointing the finger at myself of I'm the common factor in all these things that don't work. So there's a lot of self-reflection going on right now. Like at 63, is that what I really want? Do I really want a permanent partner? I think I do. Both of my marriages, 20 and 15 years, most of them were happy. I liked having that best friend, person who's got your back, all those things. But at 63, I'm questioning. And part of that might be the Philippines vibe and energy that all of us talk about that is hard to navigate. I'm a communicator, all right? I've got to have somebody I can communicate. I've tried to do a young, more provincial type Filipina who maybe doesn't have super strong English, certainly doesn't have a grasp on world, big picture issues that I think about, and that doesn't work. So that does limit the pool right there.
And that's one of the drawbacks from dating a woman in the province, is that she is likely going to be a very, very simple woman, right? Very simple. Maybe her English isn't that good. She might not be highly educated. She might not be very educated at all. And she's going to be very, very tied to her family a lot of times. So those are things you need to consider. A provincial woman is very sweet, very innocent, going to love you. But there's those other sides to her too that you really need to consider. Is this what I want when you start dating some woman from the Philippines?
Do you think it's beyond just the language? What about age, education, experience living, in a city versus only being in the province?
Well, I would say I've had, quote, better luck with Filipinas who have had an experience with a foreigner.
Interesting.
Yeah, just because they've had that experience, there's a certain piece of wisdom that they're gaining, even if it was a bad experience. But I would say as far as beauty, that for me, that box I'm moving down the list, because I think hopefully at 63, am I wise enough to realize beauty doesn't last?
You're describing something that I think affects a lot of foreigners. We come to a place where we have more options, let's just say, more opportunities that will impact our ability to make that choice and settle with someone, because we keep thinking there's someone better. We get caught up in the looks because there's so many cute girls that will pay attention to us, that of course we want someone that we can connect with deeply, have conversation with, someone honest and caring. There's a lot of that here. But when you're also trying to find the cute, petite, those physical features, you're starting to search for something that's maybe not easy to find here?
Correct.
And this is where I think a lot of men can relate, because there are so many cute girls, there's so many young women, so many nice women, they're fit, feminine, friendly, and there are so many choices. And this is where I think a lot of men get caught up, because sometimes, I've said it so many times before, I think sometimes it's just as bad to have too many choices as it is to have no choices at all. And when you have so many good choices, sometimes you're like, well, I don't like this about the woman I'm with. Maybe that woman over there would be a better choice, or maybe this woman over here would be a better choice. And you keep skipping around and time is passing. And sometimes you need to, I think all of us, we need to realize that we're not perfect, and no woman we find is going to be perfect either. If you're looking to be in a committed relationship, choose a good woman. Just choose a good woman and commit to that woman. Let me know in the comments, have you been through that same phenomena of where you think that there's a better woman right around the corner? Maybe you should choose her. Maybe you should dump the woman you're with. Maybe you should wait and not commit to the woman you've kind of been dating because there might be this other woman. Have you experienced that same thing? Because I definitely have. There's no question I definitely have.
It's math. You're just limiting the probabilities of finding what is in your mind the right person. But again, that's where my self-reflection right now is about, okay, maybe I need to re-examine what my perfect little Filipina looks like, feels like. And because we both have we've seen foreigners who have found a Filipina, and maybe looks isn't like off the charts, but they're happy. There's that mutual appreciation of, wow, this is really good. I'm lucky. And not so, I'm lucky, I'm going to make this work, I'm committed, I'm in this 100%. And maybe some of my questioning is, how willing am I to make that 100% commitment? Because, as you said, the parade continues to go by right behind me here of other choices. And Filipinas, a lot of Filipinas are not shy in front of your wife to give you eyebrows. Just in case it doesn't work out with her,
yeah,
there are options, Marco. I mean, it's there. It happens all the time.
This is really true. And I think that's the problem, is that there are so many options, and there's available options. I mean, what he said is so on point. There is always a woman. And if you haven't been around this before in the US or in another country, there is always another woman who is waiting to take your woman's place. I think the most important thing that I learned through all of this is you might want to trade your girlfriend in or your wife in for another woman because she's more pretty, or she's more this or more that, more educated, or her English is better. But never forget this. If you can switch yours for somebody else, but you're just inviting a whole new set of problems. It may not be the same problems that you have with your current partner, but you're going to have a whole new other set of problems that you're going to have to deal with. So just choose the right person in the first place, and commit to that relationship and making that relationship work and keep it pushing. Enjoy the life, enjoy the relationship, and have fun.
But ultimately, I think the guys that are happy are the ones that are ready to settle.
Know what they want?
Know what they want and are willing, even if they choose something that doesn't work out to be perfectly what they want, they're going to make it work.
And they're grateful for that.
They're grateful for this person. They're grateful for the extra family that comes into their life.
100%. You're on point. That's my thinking too. Yeah.
And a lot of these guys, quite literally in the U.S., might have been categorized in nerdy or unsocial or clumsy, and now here they are so happy.
Right.
I've been 2 years here in the Philippines. In that 2 years, I've had some pretty deep self-reflection, and I'm changing. I'm changing 100%. Not only in my age and such, but the Philippines is changing me.
100%. I think in the last year, I've started to go through a lot of self-reflection. And like he said, anytime you're in a relationship and that relationship ends, you're always the common denominator. So it had something to do with you. It's not because the other person was crazy or they were narcissistic or they were this or that. It has something to do with you. You chose wrong, or you chose wrong, or maybe you were wrong, or maybe you overreacted. Maybe you were too jealous. Maybe you were too this. Maybe you're too picky. It has something to do with you. So I think self-reflection is something that we all need to do, including myself. If your ultimate goal is to have a great relationship here in the Philippines, then do that. Check yourself, fix yourself, work on your emotional stability, your financial stability. Let me know what you guys think. Leave your comments below. I'm curious. I'm especially curious to hear from the men watching this video. Can you relate to this video? Because I definitely can. And don't forget, if you like this video, I have a whole bunch of other videos that you can check out. I know you're going to like them too, so don't forget to check those out. Until next time, I'll see you in a couple of days. I'm Richie Rich for Richie Rich Abroad. Deuces. I'm out.